Appalachian State is in the Women's Basketball Invitational postseason tournament, taking on the UNC Asheville Bulldogs. I'm Joshua Kormeyer alongside Appalachian State head coach Angel Elderkin. Coach, your team just finished up the Sun Belt Conference tournament, made a run all the way to the semifinals, unfortunately losing to number one seeded Little Rock, but you had a great run defeating Coastal Carolina and Georgia State. Talk about what you learned from your team during that postseason run.
I thought our team was extremely focused throughout the entire tournament, no matter what adjustments we try to make or schemes we try to put in. I thought we had their 100% attention, we had their effort, and we had their focus. And I thought our team played really, really well during the tournament. As a coach, you always want your team to peak at the right time, and I thought we played excellent during the tournament.
It was a quick turnaround for each of those Sun Belt Conference tournament games, but how do you get your team going now after a smaller break and not knowing when they would play in this next postseason tournament?
Yeah, that's been a little bit of the struggle because we ended up playing, if you count the South Alabama, it was like 5 games in, less than a week. And so we got them back to campus, got them rested, and then met with them on Monday, but we still didn't know what was going on. So it was a little different territory, and for our players who have never experienced postseason, it's not something that it's common. It's uncommon for all of us. And so once we did find out and we got them back together on Tuesday, they're just not a team right now. It's in like, hey, let's have a practice mode. They're in a let's prep and let's play. So we try to keep them off their feet and do very minimal. But as a coach, I'm a little bit concerned because it's like, did we just go all in like I wanted them to in New Orleans, and do we have more in the tank to win a WBI championship?
Going back once more to the Sun Belt Conference tournament, what does that series of victories mean for this program, especially for this younger group as well, because we know the struggles they had last year, getting Maddie Story back, getting Ashley Polachek back, making that type of run and playing very well against the number one seed.
I think it's great. I think it's outstanding. I was talking to my staff. As you progress and as you continue to build and get better, then you secure a top seed, and so now you're faced with that double bye. If you take a team that doesn't have the experience of winning in a tournament and now you have a double bye, sometimes those teams get upset. And I think for our team to be able to win a game last year, now 2 this year, they know the feeling of the tournament, they understand it, and so next year if our program can take the next step, we'll be ready in case we are fortunate to have a double bye.
Well, you still have more postseason basketball. You're taking on the UNC Asheville Bulldogs, a team you faced last year with that younger team. Lost to them by 9, but this is a completely different team. What are you looking at going into this matchup?
Asheville is a really tough team, and they're a really great program. This is their 4th appearance in the postseason with a very senior-led basketball team in our first. And so I think you got to kind of look at last year's game, but our players, quite frankly, didn't remember it. So we're different. They're different. The Big South Conference is very different than the Sun Belt. And so that's the challenging part. When you're down in the Sun Belt and you got 1 day to prep for a Little Rock and a familiar opponent, your kids are locked in. They know. Now it's not just prepping for an opponent, but a different style of basketball. And so, credit to Asheville. They have a style, they have a system, they're slow-paced, they execute, they run a lot of sets. And so we just got to be locked into our principles today.
You've talked about it all year long, the message of growth. You want to see this team continue to grow. We saw them hit pretty much their peak in the Sun Belt Conference tournament. What do you want to see specifically from this team or even individuals coming into this game?
I want them to embrace the opportunity to play in postseason. No matter the outcome today, this is valuable experience like we talked about earlier. This experience of postseason play is exactly what our program needs to take the next step. And so I want them to embrace this opportunity. I would like to see us respond. I think there's a piece of me that continues to say, did this team peak in New Orleans? Do we have it? And we've done everything from a coaching staff perspective and a player perspective to make sure that they're locked in and focused and excited about the opportunity to play in the postseason.
It's a big postseason tournament for your team, trying to win here and then move on to the next couple of rounds. What do you tell your team going into this, and what are your final thoughts before this game?
I told them I was probably, and our staff in New Orleans was one of the hopeful that when our season was over, it wasn't over. And now when you go into a game like today, like, you have to earn another 40 minutes. There's not going to be another tournament. And so just really getting our players to understand that they got to go all in again to earn another 40, but also not feel the pressure. You know, when you look at a player like Maddie Story, you don't want her to become tentative or tight thinking this is my last time out. And she certainly didn't do that in New Orleans, and she didn't know about this tournament. So my hope is that they continue to stay focused, stay locked in, and continue to be all in.
Well, thank you, Coach, and we'll talk to you after the game.
Thanks.